Yo, what is going on, people? My name's Jorge Pajares. Welcome to the podcast. Question: are the Knicks an actual watchable NBA team in 2020? We're going to discuss that on today's episode. Welcome to the season premiere of the newly revamped Off the Bench.
It's time to get ready. It's time to get ready. Time to get ready. Time to get ready. Whoa, wake up. It's time to get ready. It's time to get ready. It's time to get ready. Time to get ready. Time to get ready.
Thank you to everyone that's clicked on the link on YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, however you may be listening. So, as I mentioned in the opener, we're going to be talking Knicks. I got my Knicks jersey on. And you know what? I actually went to MSG last year to watch the Knicks take on the Nuggets. And for the first quarter, it was a great time. And then the Knicks were tanking yet again. And I've been debating on going to a Knicks game this year. I don't live that far from Madison Square Garden, although it's not in any of the boroughs. But, you know, it was... Looking at the team under David Fizdale, I was very... There was something missing. Something that was not right. Something wasn't sitting right with me. With the New York Knicks. I didn't like how Julius Randle would go from court to court, driving the ball, calling plays. Like, he's a power forward. There was a lot of things wrong with David Fizdale. Then he got fired. 24 games in. That's all it took for David Fizdale to get fired. And I know that's old news, but something happened after David Fizdale got fired. The day David Fizdale got fired, right after he held practice with the team, mind you, Marcus Morris called for a players-only meeting. And one of the many themes of that players-only meeting was accountability. Players holding each other accountable. At the time, the Knicks were a turnover machine. It looked like the front office made mistakes with these free agent signings, even though this is exactly the free agent signings that they wanted. Hint, it wasn't. Julius Randle looked like a lost soul. He was the big free agent signing. That 3-year deal was the biggest contract that the Knicks have out on their roster right now. And of course, trade talks began to flourish out of thin air. But under Mike Miller, the Knicks started to play really well. And I don't mean really well, I mean they looked like a complete team. So, currently, at the time of recording, the Knicks had just played the Phoenix Suns, and they lost by 8 points. I believe the score is 120-112. Don't quote me on that. It's very late in the evening. But the Knicks have been playing really good basketball. And I am loving it. Now, for those unaware with who Mike Miller, the interim head coach of the New York Knicks, is, he was a Eric Spoelstra type of cat, where he has zero head coaching experience, was an assistant for the Westchester Knicks, moved on up to become their head coach. But of course, it's the D-League/G League, so does that really count as a head coach? Does that translate to the NBA? Usually it doesn't. Usually those coaches are just assistants of the assistants in the NBA. And they just stay there, and they just, as long as they develop the players or just make sure injured players come back healthier, then that's it. That's all their job is. But Mike Miller, in Westchester, as the head coach of the Westchester Knicks, he actually won a lot of games. He actually made it to the D-League Finals. And I believe he won the championship with the Westchester Knicks. So I guess you could say he's a winner. And this past offseason, after all the free agent signings, the Knicks announced that Mike Miller will be joining David Fizdale's staff as an assistant coach. And mind you, when David Fizdale got fired, all of Fizdale's people, all of his assistants, left with him. So Mike Miller now has pretty much people he's comfortable with. And, excuse me. And the big thing with Mike Miller is that you don't have to like him, but you do have to respect him. And that's one thing I feel that the current Knicks roster didn't have with David Fizdale. Is that, yes, David Fizdale was a player-friendly guy. The players loved him. He was a great dude, great person. But as a coach, do you respect him? When you really think about it, David Fizdale was really only brought in so Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving could try to come to New York. Well, mostly Kevin Durant. And LeBron James endorsed the hiring to the moon. Was ecstatic that David Fizdale got hired by the Knicks. But we already talked too much about David Fizdale. We're focused on Mike Miller. And Mike Miller has done something crazy. He's gone 6-7. Now, I know it's just a game under 500. And the most important win, I think, came against the Portland Trailblazers when Carmelo Anthony made his New York return for a second time. But this time, Portland was fighting to stay alive in the playoff race. And I know it's December/January when the game occurred, and we're already in 2020, and this is really when teams start picking it up, but the Knicks dominated the Portland Trailblazers. And it was very impressive how well the Knicks were playing. Never mind the fact that Dennis Smith Jr., I believe, was hurt. But Julius Randle had been playing well that game. And quick side note for Julius Randle, he's the one that really has improved with Mike Miller as his head coach. Julius Randle was struggling. He was shooting threes left and right like no tomorrow. And he was not playing well. He was not the guy the Knicks envisioned. And under Miller, he's had a string of 30-point games. And Julius Randle is pretty much averaging a double-double now. Under Mike Miller, Julius Randle is averaging 24 points, 10 rebounds, and has improved his field goal percentage to just under 50%, is shooting 39% from 3, and is almost at an 80% free throw shooting. 80% free throw shooting percentage. That's impressive. Especially when early on with Fizdale, Randle looked like he couldn't hit a free throw to save his life. And Mike Miller is implementing a lot of pick and rolls, which is what Julius Randle, of all people, needs. Julius Randle does not need the ball in his hands. Julius Randle will set the screens. He will be in the post. He'll post his matchup up. And some of the time he's going to win. Most of the time he should win. And he showed that in New Orleans in his contract year last year when Anthony Davis was sitting out because he wanted to go to LA and that didn't happen. And Randle is playing out of his mind, and he is now turning into one of the top scorers for the Knicks. And not to mention Marcus Morris, there was indication under Fizdale that Morris and Randle can't be on the court together. And now they're thriving. And they're doing so well right now that through the losses, terrible losses under Fizdale. The 6-7 record with Mike Miller, Marcus Morris has now gone to the front office and told the New York Knicks front brass, I love it here. I want to stay here. I want to be loyal to the Knicks. Do not trade me. That is a huge turnaround. Because as Knicks fans know, had we kept losing, Marcus Morris probably is the first player traded in a package with Dennis Smith Jr. to get a couple of first-round picks. And then, obviously, the whole pipe dream is using those picks to get a star player. But that's we'll move on. We'll move on from that. We'll shelf that for later. But the fact that Marcus Morris now is telling the front office, hey, I want to be here. We got something special under Mike Miller is huge. Huge for the NBA and huge for New York basketball. And not to mention that the Knicks beat the Brooklyn Nets. Mind you, they didn't have KD or Kyrie Irving, but they beat the Brooklyn Nets. Because if you're a Brooklyn Nets fan and you're listening to this podcast, you know, even without KD or Kyrie, you should beat the New York Knicks. And now the Knicks have that win on you. But more so is that the Knicks are playing better defensively. They had the third worst defensive shot profile. What does that mean in layman's terms? So a shot profile is pretty much how well a team defends certain parts of the court. Mid-range, the three, inside the paint. They had the third worst profile under Fizdale. Third worst in the league. And under Mike Miller, they've improved to the fourth best. A top 4 defense. Shot profile, that is. So not only are these Knicks, like Julius Randle, playing much better, but they're defending. They're playing defense. This is huge. Huge for Knicks fans. How often do you see in previous years that the Knicks would just let someone just run just run into the paint and just slam it on you, posterize you, and just embarrass you. Embarrass other players. It happened when Blake Griffin posterized Timofey Mozgov. We all remember that. Don't tell me you don't, because you do. But the fact that the Knicks are playing better defensively, and sure, you can say that their schedule has been easy, but 6-7, that's just a game under 500. So you telling me if at this pace, he'll be a 40-42 team. 41-41. And in the East, in the Eastern Conference of the NBA, that's an 8 seed, maybe a 7 seed. These Knickerbockers are playing great defense. Mitchell Robinson is blocking like crazy. On the flip coin, the offense is improving, not just Julius Randle, but what Mike Miller does that David Fizdale somehow didn't even think to do is, as we mentioned, run the pick and roll and drive the paint. He wants to win the battle inside the paint, and I absolutely love it. If I were to run an NBA team, I'd want a point guard that can pass, and I want big men that can attack the paint. I want my players to just attack the paint. Because once you attack the paint and you're dominating with points in the paint, you're 10 plus 10 plus 20 in points in the paint, that opens up the perimeter shots. And that's any basketball, the average basketball fan knows that. When you attack the paint, you open up the perimeter shots. Guys like Marcus Morris can get some shots. Guys like even a Wayne Ellington can get some shots. Damian Dotson. Exactly. Under Mike Miller, the Knicks went from 27th in pace to 12th. That is a huge, huge increase in pace. And the forwards aren't getting the balls as much. The point guards are calling the shots. And that's where we transition into my favorite part of this Mike Miller coaching tenure thus far. And that's the improved play of Frank Ntilikina. And Frank Ntilikina, as you all recall, was in the doghouse under Fizdale. And now you see him play right now. He's very effective with the ball in his hands. He has the ability to pass. He isn't turning the ball over. He's playing really good defense. And he's actually shooting slightly better. It's not that he needs to take more shots. He's taking smarter shots under Mike Miller. And now you have Alfred Payton starting. And I know he didn't start against Phoenix today, or at the day of this recording. And that really showed why the Knicks... It really showed in the Knicks game. Well, yes, they were up, but you can't have Frank Ntilikina as your only point guard. Especially with Dennis Smith Jr. out. So, Ntilikina's playing well, and this 2020 will be remembered mostly, if anything else, for Frank Ntilikina's dunk, massive hammer against the Blazers. Ntilikina is coming into his own, and the best part about this Ntilikina resurgence, he still has another year left with the team and could be eligible for an extension next year. But he's still with the team for another year. If the Knicks continue to play like this, and Ntilikina continues to improve, then, wow, what a future. Not to mention Kevin Knox is starting to hit shots. Kevin Knox is more confident with his shooting range now. He's playing pretty good defense. And yes, Fizdale would bench him for other starters, for the veterans that they signed. And that might have hurt his confidence. But Mike Miller is saying, no, you're going to earn your minutes by being on the floor and making smart decisions. And Kevin Knox is making smart decisions. And I'm absolutely in love. My only concern with this team right now is that Mitchell Robinson is still coming off the bench and Taj Gibson is still starting. I like Taj Gibson as much as the next person, but he should not be starting on any NBA team. And I love Taj Gibson. He's a great player. He's a great locker room leader. But Mitchell Robinson's got to get those minutes. And I'm sure at some point in 2020, Mitchell Robinson is going to become the full-time starter. And Taj Gibson either might be traded or will be his backup. But when you really think about it, like this team is from every side of the ball. Not to mention we didn't even get to the turnovers, which is huge with the Knicks. The Knicks always turn the ball over. Under Fizdale, under Derek Fisher, under whoever was their coach. The name escapes me. The previous coach before Fizdale, he was with Phoenix. And then there was also Kurt Rambis. They turned the ball over a lot. And that really, when the Knicks turned it over once, twice, and then it turned into 20 turnovers. The Knicks now rank 4th in turnover percentage. 4th. They were 19th with Fizdale. They're taking care of the ball. This team is different. This team can play and can play against playoff teams. You mean to tell me that they beat a Brooklyn Nets team that you take KD and Kyrie out, minus 1 or 2 players that left? Brooklyn went to the playoffs with that team last year. You mean to tell me that the Knicks under Mike Miller blew out a Portland Trailblazers team that minus Carmelo Anthony went to the Western Conference Finals last year? This team is on the verge of something. And yes, 13 games is still too soon to say anything about Mike Miller. But if this keeps up, the Knicks somehow, mind you, the Knicks are about 5 or 6 games back from the 8 seed at the time of this recording. Yet they have the third worst record. It's still early in the season, but of course the tankathon, the people that want the tank. But if this keeps up and the Knicks start inching closer to 500, maybe they start getting close to 5 games under 500. They start inching closer to the 8 seed. The only thing that's going to help the Knicks at this point isn't going to be tanking. It's going to be wins. It's going to be making sure all the young players get their minutes. They get burned on the court. Making sure the vets are doing their job even with limited minutes. And mind you, Elfrid Payton right now is a starting point guard. When the Knicks plays Elfrid Payton a minimum of 26 minutes, they have a winning record. And are undefeated when he scores 12 or more points. Do you know how many point guards average 12 or more points? A lot. A lot of starting point guards in the NBA average more than 12 points. So the fact that Elfrid Payton is just doing wonders for this team as a starter and Ntilikina as the backup, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with Payton. Now we get to the people that are going to probably see themselves out the door because of this Mike Miller business. Dennis Smith Jr. Hey, buddy. I almost bought a jersey, one of your jerseys last year. I was really excited about you coming to the Knicks. I actually made a whole prediction with a few buddies of mine that had the Knicks gotten Kyrie Irving, that you would have been Kyrie Irving's backup. But sadly, Dennis Smith Jr., all things come to an end. And yes, while Phil Jackson passed up on you to get Ntilikina, Ntilikina's playing a lot better than you right now. And yes, the Knicks are treating you with all the respect in the world, which is amazing to hear. Amazing to hear. And the Knicks are currently trying to find a playoff contender to send Dennis Smith Jr. to. It's time. It's time for you to go. Any minutes that Dennis Smith Jr. is expecting whenever he comes back from whatever ailments, I believe he has an oblique. Last I checked. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But whatever ailments are bothering Dennis Smith Jr., whether personal, whether injury, expect your minutes to be gone. You can suit up, but Ntilikina stole your job, bro. Ntilikina's the point guard of the future. This is the Payton and Ntilikina show. And the Knicks may have finally found the point guards that they need to succeed. And mind you, Elfrid Payton did wonders in New Orleans. The Knicks got Elfrid Payton and Julius Randle from New Orleans. They snatched him and signed him up. Julius Randle keeps up his play. He's worth every penny that the Knicks gave him in his 3-year deal. Payton keeps playing, and the Knicks continue to have a winning record with Payton as their starter. I expect Payton to get paid at the end of the season. Expect the same thing for Ntilikina. See, I don't think the Knicks at this point... Bold prediction time, y'all. First episode of the new season. We're going to get a new logo, by the way. Just side note. I'll save that for later on, but... Bold prediction time. The Knicks are not going to sign any big free agents or trade for any big free agents in the next 2-3 years. If Steve Mills keeps his job, which I don't think he will, I believe Steve Mills will either get fired, which I don't think will happen, knowing James Dolan and their relationship. Or he'll just be demoted, and Scott Perry will stay as general manager. I believe that the Knicks are going to either trade some veterans like Dennis Smith Jr., maybe Bobby Portis, maybe Wayne Ellington. As you recall as well, there's a lot of veterans on this team, a lot of forwards. Not all of them is going to stay. Not all of them are going to fit. The ones I usually think that are going to stay are Marcus Morris, for sure. Taj Gibson, to continue to mentor Mitchell Robinson. And Julius Randle, obviously. Peyton. But I don't think the Knicks are going to get a max star, which is fine. Which is okay. It's okay, Knicks fans. It's okay that the Knicks aren't going to sign a star. Because you know who's going to be the star of the Knicks? R.J. Barrett. You know who's going to reel in huge players? You know who's going to reel in players to sign with the Knicks? R.J. Barrett. Julius Randle. The big bold prediction is not that. It's not just that the Knicks aren't going to sign a star free agent, a max free agent, or trade for one, like a Karl Anthony Towns. I believe that the Knicks will do something they've never done before. I believe the Knicks will sign Mike Miller to a full-time head coaching contract. This is what I'm predicting, this mostly because my heart also wants this to happen. Mike Miller becomes a full-time head coach if he keeps this up. And keeps the same pace. Because, quite frankly, Mike Miller can lose the next 20 games in a row and he'll still have a better record than David Fizdale. Mike Miller will be the new full-time head coach of the New York Knicks. And the Knicks will start their young players, like R.J. Barrett. Kevin Knox may get some burn. But the Knicks are going to develop their players. And R.J. Barrett will be the centerpiece. And Ntilikina, and Randle, and Knox, and Morris will all stay with the New York Knicks, be the centerpiece around that the Knicks build around, and New York Knicks basketball will come back. They won't be a finals competitor, but they will be a playoff team. And it will just be a matter of time, of if. It will no longer be a matter of if, but when with the Knicks. As R.J. Barrett gets older, as Kevin Knox gets older, as Ntilikina gets older, as Mitchell Robinson gets older. The Knicks will become a matter of when they will win a championship. I'd say 5 years. Boom. Bombshell. I'm a big fan of Mike Miller. I love what he's doing with the Knicks. I hope he keeps it up. I hope that 2020 brings the Knicks a possible surprise 8 seed. This is just coming from the Knicks fan in me. If Mike Miller is able to bring this team from a 4-18 record in the first 24 games to an 8 seed at 40-42 or 39-43, you don't have to be that far off from 500 to make the playoffs. You're only 5 games back from the Magic. But I'm a big fan of Mike Miller, and I think the Knicks are back TBD, depending on who they trade. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to this episode of Off the Bench. Quick updates for you guys. So, the YouTube channel is now primarily Off the Bench podcast episodes, where you just get videos of me, and you get the links for the Spotify and SoundCloud, so you can listen to it at the gym, on your way to work, however you want to listen to it. I know for the many subscribers I have on this YouTube channel that there's been a lack of gaming videos, and I sincerely apologize for that. I sincerely apologize for the lateness of this podcast episode. The fact of the matter is, I've been extremely busy with graduate school and working on a part-time basis. So I'm either very exhausted or just don't have the time to record as much as I had hoped. That being said, I'm hoping to have a lot more time for the podcast nowadays. And I may have some time for gaming. But we must bid adieu to the Latino Nerd Gaming on this channel. We will debut a new a new graphic and banner on YouTube and all across SoundCloud and Spotify in the next episode, which may come next week, may come the week after. I'm currently working with a graphic design artist who will be linked once the new logo is debuted. And as far as the gaming goes, we will create a separate YouTube channel called Latino Nerd Gaming for snippets of live streams. Now, there's been a lot of issue with the YouTube live streams and the YouTube policies. I'm hoping I can work around it. We may just do some snippets of Twitch, may do some games on YouTube. We'll figure it out, but I will leave the link in the description starting the end of January for the Latino Nerd Gaming channel. For those of you that want the gaming channel, please, if you're on YouTube, hit a comment if you would like a separate gaming channel. Now that this channel is exclusively Off the Bench podcast episodes. And I'll do my best to try to manage my way around both. Graduate school has been very tough, and I appreciate all you subscribers that stick around and support. I truly do appreciate it. But for now, we call it a day. Thank you so much for listening. I will see you later.